Do you want to make 20% more revenue on your Airbnbs for only $20 a month? No, this isn't clickbait. There's one software out there that can almost double your revenue possibly each year for just $20 a month. It's one of the smartest tools out there, and I'm about to dive into exactly how it can help you, and we'll talk more about Price Labs today. Hey everyone, my name is Garrett Brown. I'm the BiggerPockets short-term rental expert and a short-term rental investor myself from Houston, Texas, that has a portfolio that grosses over $700,000 a year. And we could not get to that kind of number if it wasn't for having really unique stays, great hospitality, and one secret tool that has brought my revenue management to next level without me really having to do much ever with it. As you see, there's so many different types of softwares out there now in the short-term rental world. Some of them are great. Some of them are probably a waste of time. But a lot of people will just put one property on Airbnb. They'll let Airbnb's tools and algorithms determine the price. They'll use smart pricing from Airbnb. And they don't think about it that Airbnb, once your place booked, they don't care really what the price. They just want to make sure it gets booked so they can get their cut. And they're going to drop your rates dramatically just to get it booked. Prime example, I have a person that I'm just about to start co-hosting for very soon because they've seen how we operate in the area. He was upset telling me about what Airbnb did to him because he had smart pricing on. Most of the time, his place is about a $400 average daily rate. Airbnb, he still doesn't know what exactly happened, but somehow they let his place get booked out 6 months in advance on New Year's for $200 a night. Somebody booked like a 4 or 5 night stay with them, and he probably lost about $1,500 in revenue to $2,000 because he could have easily gotten $700-800 a night through New Year's, which is a very popular event, especially in our area that I'm talking about. So I say all that to don't trust the Airbnb software. Don't trust your price intuition that you think it should be. There's a little bit to it. You can, look at Airbnb to see what's out there, but you need a software that is doing all this thinking for you. And that's where Price Labs comes into play. It's a dynamic pricing software, and that sounds like a fancy word, but it's the same type of software that hotels use to vary their rates based on the demand and the supply in the area. Price Labs will take different data that is out there in your particular area, and most people use Price Labs, so it has the best data. Using Price Labs, they'll see what's available on particular weekends. Is there an event coming and like other people have raised prices? The software pays attention to different things like that. You even yourself can add in that there's an event coming and make it, special time. I have a friend that has a property at the Renaissance Festival near Houston, Texas, that 6 weeks out of the year is just the highest demand ever. And he made sure to raise his pricing quite a bit with Price Labs using seasonal pricing right around then. So he made all the revenue in the biggest revenue slot of the year for himself. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen about dynamic pricing software, which is kind of mind-boggling to me, is that I put it on and it raised my prices up to $1,000 a night, and that's just too high. And what's really cool about Price Labs is you can set the maximum amount you want your place to be or the minimum. And then in between that, you set your base price, which will tell the software kind of where you want your ballpark pricing to be. And then it adjusts from there. They also have some of the coolest rule sets is what they call them that are out there to make you even more profitable. Think about this. This is one big trick that I like to teach people and I use Price Labs for. I see a lot of people that will have a 3-day minimum on their property. And each area is different. In some areas, you probably can get away with it. I'll give an example for a co-host client that I have. He had one booking all year and he couldn't figure out why. And he came to me and now we're managing the property. There's 2 things I did. Asked him, could we be pet friendly? Yes, he said he's fine with that. Let's take a pet fee, more revenue for him. Instantly, or more bookings are going to come from that. But we took that 3-night minimum down to a 2-night minimum. Why do we do that? Well, his concern was the 3-night, I was just I made more revenue that way and I didn't want to do the 2-night because I didn't make as much and my cleaners and all this, I brought it to his attention of this is what I will do for you. So people will go on Airbnb and you have a 3-night minimum. Most people going on Airbnb are searching from Friday to Sunday. If you're doing Friday to Monday, you're not even going to show up in that search. So you're already ruling out yourself from tons of visibility. Not everybody searches for 3 days. So what I recommend doing is, instead of worrying about like, oh, I need a 3-night booking, I have to have 3 nights because that's just what's going to be the most profitable, you could charge that same amount. And then with length of stay bookings, some people will click the 2 nights, see their pricing is, $1,000. And then if you have a 20% discount for them adding a 3rd night within Price Labs as a rule set, they'll have the option of adding an additional night for $200 or $300, which is just adding to your bottom line because you're not having to have constant cleaning and turnover, but you still had a chance to get the booking because you showed up in the 2-night algorithm. That's why I love length of stay discounts, even on my weekday properties, which, we get a lot of 1-day bookings there because we'll have couples and romantic anniversaries. We have rule sets on all of them that they can add that 2nd night for 20 or 30% off. We encourage that because it makes us have more revenue than having constant cleanings coming in and changeovers and things like that. So we encourage it through a length of stay booking. Even something outside of Price Labs that you could do is you can use something like HostBuddy, which is an AI tool that will send the guest a message if there's an open night anywhere of, hey, we saw that you booked, Friday through Sunday. Do you want to book the Sunday night extra as well for 20% off? And then they still would get the same pricing, and you can offer them a slight discount and extend their stay, which is the name of the game in short-term rentals. You want to keep people in your properties and keep the inventory, the nights, booked for you. So with these rules, you can do all types of things within Price Labs. You can have discounts for a 5-day stay, a 7-day stay that automatically apply into it. One of the most cool features they have is something called Orphan Gaps. Let's say my places in particular, I have 2-night minimum bookings every single weekend, no matter what. It's always been the thing for every single property, and it works. Weekends are not a problem to get booked. So you can set up these rules within Price Labs. So if somebody's on your calendar and they're trying to book just a Friday night, they can't do it. But let's say you have somebody that booked Wednesday through Friday, and then you have somebody that is booking Saturday through Tuesday. So you have that Friday night that's just individually by itself open. If you didn't put in the Orphan Gap, rule set and pricing along with their adjacent night, that Friday night would not be able to be clicked and booked by anybody in Airbnb and things like that, because it will click and they'll say, oh, you need a 2-night minimum. How do you do a 2-night minimum when the Saturday next to it is booked? That's when gap rules come into play on Price Labs. You can set it up so that way that one night will become automatically bookable if somebody books out the Saturday, through Monday next to it. So that way the rule sets just automatically apply. You're not having to go in and change things. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a full walkthrough video of some of the rules that I've set up for Price Labs. But they have great support and a knowledge base over there to kind of help you set up these different rule sets to make sure your place is going to be as profitable as possible. Price Labs, even if you only have one listing, they'll give you a portfolio analysis for free, let you know where you could be. They have market research data to give you an estimated revenue for, if you're looking at properties, you can go in and see what an estimated revenue might be in that area. The revenue estimator, you can pay up to 15 estimates for $45 a month, or you can even get 2 estimates for $10 a month. If you have a couple properties you're comparing between and you're not sure which one you want to do, you can find out which one's going to probably make more based on all of the data they have for just $10. You don't need a property management software to use Price Labs. You can connect it right into Airbnb, even though I highly recommend using some type of property management software. There's a million of them out there: Hospitable, Lodgify, OwnerRez, Uplisting, all of these different ones that are out there that you can connect onto multiple platforms and then sync it with Price Labs within. And it makes everything almost automatic. Maybe once a week, I go in for about an hour or 2, look at my properties, make a couple adjustments, look for any future events. But, there's a good bit of set it and forget it for Price Labs. People say, oh, you can't set it and forget it with this dynamic pricing. You always need to be checking and tweaking some things, which I could see some advantages. But for the most part, the software and algorithm does a lot of the work for you. And they have all of the data. I'm telling you, everybody uses Price Labs. You would be in the vast minority as a short-term rental owner not using Price Labs and getting the correct data that you're needing. I can even give you a comparison. A few years back when I launched my first condos in Houston, Texas, before I even used something like Price Labs, we were getting about $80 or $90 per night in some of these places. Once I implemented Price Labs, our revenue that month jumped up by about 25% just from the algorithm changes it made and allowing me to use orphan nights and different rule sets to incentivize more people booking longer. I ended up selling those places, but then I moved into a rural part of the country, built some really unique stays, the only ones that were in the area. And I was like, well, I don't know how to price these things. Like, I think I'm going to be the highest one in the area. You might be the trailblazer in the area and you can kind of pick your pricing. But what happened is, after a little bit of time with the algorithm working with Price Labs, it started to see how much we were getting booked at what price. And then it started adjusting my prices to make sure I'm maximizing my revenue. It even was encouraging me to increase my weekend prices from about $350 a night to all the way to $500 a night. And we're still getting that. So $20 can easily make you 20% more in revenue, if not more, using something like this tool. If you're serious about growing your Airbnb or short-term rental income, Price Labs is a no-brainer. Try it with one listing and watch what happens. And I guarantee you it's going to be worth every single penny. You're going to make that $20 back in one day. I'll leave a link in the description below to sign up. But let me know in any comments if you want me to do a live setup or a walkthrough on YouTube Live, or go more into detail about how you can increase the revenue at your property and make your short-term rental a long-term success. I'll see you on the next one. I think YouTube wants you to watch one of these videos right here.